Well, hey there, everyone. This is Dave Dubeau with another episode of the Property Profits Real Estate Podcast. Today, it is my pleasure to be chatting with a fellow podcaster, a real estate entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur, Sandy Mackay, all the way from Hamilton, Ontario. How are you doing today, Sandy?
Dave, I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to a great show.
Me too. So if you don't know Sandy yet, he's the co-host of the Breakthrough REI podcast, which you can find at breakthroughreipodcast.ca. Fantastic podcast. They interview some really smart real estate entrepreneurs. And heck, they even interviewed me a little while ago.
So like yourself, I was going to say, yeah, there you go.
You might have been scraping the bottom of the barrel there. I'm not sure. But anyhow, it was my pleasure. And Sandy's also an entrepreneur. He's got over $4 million worth of businesses. And he's a real estate investor and realtor as well. So busy guy, Sandy.
Busy, yeah, for sure. It doesn't feel as busy when you're having fun, obviously, right? As everyone says. So I think as long as we keep it fun and have some great people around us, it's always fun. It makes it great.
That really is kind of the key, isn't it? Having those great people around you. So Sandy, let's back up a few years and let's see, how the heck did you get involved in this whole crazy world of real estate investing?
Yeah, well, we started, my wife and I have been in this together basically since day one. My wife and I were working together. We met, my wife hired me. She loves that story. I won't tell that one, but she hired me originally. That's how we met.
Too late. You already started.
Too late. So that was in a different industry. And we we both got intrigued by this business kind of at the same time. I had just read Rich Dad Poor Dad, kind of changed my mindset and got me thinking about things differently in life. And then funnily enough, there was a Rich Dad Poor Dad event coming through our city in the Toronto area. And we jumped on that, went to a seminar, said, wow, there's a whole lot of different ways we can get involved in this, and started doing some wholesaling. So we started wholesaling real estate. And most people in Canada said it really couldn't be done. I know a lot of Americans do a lot of that, and it's pretty popular. We were able to scrape together some deals, started building some lists in the real estate world. So we started building a buyer and mostly an investor list. And right. So we would, market for investors, and we'd market for properties that we could find that were distressed. And so we were able to put together some deals through some really grinding hard work, creative strategy that really doesn't take much money. Mm-hmm. So obviously it took a lot of work. And through that, we built up a bit of a chunk of change that we were then able to put towards our first property. So that would be, 7 or 8 years ago now at this point. And that funded our first deal. I remember buying it as in Oshawa, Ontario, $267,000, a duplex. We put 5% down, and we added some value to it. And yeah, we started seeing that, a year and a half later, we were like, wow, this is like $120,000 of equity, increase. So we kind of looked at.
Way better than doing the wholesale grind thing, isn't it?
Yeah. That looked a little better, yeah. And around the same time, one of our investors that we did a wholesale deal with came to us. They had bought it through us and then flipped it and said, we made like $130,000 on that. We could have. You guys made 15 or so, I think was the fee we had on that, and they said, we would have partnered with you if you just offered us, partnership instead of the whole wholesale thing. And I said, whoa, that would have been a little more money in the pocket, right? So
yeah, for sure.
So that kind of got us thinking a little more about our strategy, and we changed that over time, and did some flips, did some other things, but then really settled on what we do a lot of now, which is the buy, renovate, refinance, and hold strategy with multifamily properties.
You know what? It's interesting how so many of us get started with the flips or the creative strategies or the wholesaling. I mean, that was what I did way back in the day as well. I took my course, found the course on how to get involved in real estate with little or no money, and I said, perfect, because that's what I got. But then, hindsight being 2020, you look back and you go, goodness, if I'd have held on to a few of those properties instead of wholesaling them or assigning them or whatever the hell you did with them, you made a little chunk of change here and there, but if you had held on to them, how much further ahead would you be? So,
Yeah.
we learn these things. And you know what? It's all a process as well. So I'm really curious, Andy. I told you we'd probably get off on tangents here, but for people here who are listening to this and they think, okay, well, that's actually sounds pretty good. I'm just getting started in real estate investing, or they're already up and running in real estate investing, but they want to find their own deals and not necessarily go through a realtor, because I'm pretty sure most of those wholesale deals you found were not through the MLS, were not through realtors, because it's hard to make that work.
One of them actually was, but you're right.
Okay.
The rest of them, 95%, let's say, were not.
Yeah. So you mentioned, you did a lot of grinding, a lot of hard work. What kind of marketing strategies did you use to find those motivated sellers? I'm always curious about that.
Yeah, so we did a lot of guerrilla marketing, kind of grind type work. We would go out on Friday and throw up some signs, as we still see the bandit signs these days.
Yeah,
that got the phone ringing. We'd put them out on Friday. We'd have to take them down on Sunday because otherwise the city would come and take them. And various rules in different markets as far as that goes, but. That wasn't all that successful, actually. The most successful one was letters. We would go around and drop letters to homes that we thought were looked a little run down, and we thought there might be something going on there, and they fit a criteria that we knew our investor base was interested in. Okay. A lot of our investors wanted, flips, or they wanted the duplex conversions type projects. Mm-hmm. So we'd find some areas that were open to those duplex conversions, and we'd look for some rundown properties. Drop a letter in the mail, a personal letter. If you look up the yellow letter campaign, basically a version of that, and we'd write those up and send them to the houses that we targeted, and that really got more calls than anything, actually.
Interesting.
At the time, we also did a website. It's probably not out there anymore, but wbh911.com. Someone could look that up. Maybe it is still there. I haven't even looked at it for a while, to be honest. We did 2 deals from that site at the time, which was basically a really basic lead capture website, and we put up ads on classified websites and drive them to that page, targeting distressed homeowners. Mm-hmm. And we found two pretty good deals actually through that, if I recall right. We didn't really go down that path for too long. It was a year or so of that, but a couple of those deals ended up being 30 to 40 grand in revenue. So. Nice. Not bad at the end of the day. It got us in the game. Yeah. And so those are the 3, but I would say bandit signs were a lot of work, not necessarily the best return, and a lot of hassle from, mm-hmm. We actually got a lot of sellers calling us that were already on the MLS. I found it through that. So a lot of homeowners that were already listed with a realtor, but the yellow letter campaigns, and then a little bit the internet marketing through classified ad sites. That would be our 2 biggest that worked pretty well, and still do. I think today. I think the letters for sure still work. I still get them in my mailbox here from time to time.
So when you're doing the yellow letter campaign, you're doing it pretty small though, right? Because I doubt if you're finding hundreds and hundreds of these kind of distressed looking properties, or were you kind of blanketing neighborhoods?
We blanketed a few neighborhoods, but we didn't do a really wide scale version of it, like thousands of addresses. We just didn't see that the return would be that good on that. I think, wholesaling in Canada is a little bit more difficult than I would say it is in the US from most people I talk to. Mm-hmm. Canadians just a little more suspect, if it seems, to some of those things. And they're the spidey senses kind of get up really quick compared to our American friends in general.
We're a suspicious lot, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I've done all of those as well. One thing that worked really well for me way back in the day was vehicle signage. I did a number of deals from at the beginning, driving around in my I buy houses, butt ugly purple minivan.
I've seen those still here. Those are still here. The funniest thing I ever saw from this was in Hamilton when we moved here, which we didn't do this, but I got accused of being the person in it. Was this big Bird suit. This guy would sit on the corner and dance around in a Big Bird costume, and he'd had a We Buy Houses sign, and he was there every day for months. I don't know if it worked, but
it's memorable. That's for sure.
It was memorable. I still remember.
How seriously somebody would take Big Bird as a solution to their house selling problems. Who knows? But hey,
Yeah.
different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So you transitioned from that. You got into focusing on the BRRR method eventually. That's your main bread and butter these days, as it goes, as far as it goes with real estate investing.
It is, yeah. And we as we started working with that, we so we find distressed multifamily properties for the most part. They're we've done a lot of 3 and 4 unit properties.
Nice.
We've now started getting into some bigger stuff, 8, 10, 12, that sort of size multifamily projects. Yeah, and we found through that too, as we've gone through over time, we started adding businesses into the mix there. We started adding, so we've got a property management company now because we found, we needed some better help there, and it was an opportunity for us to build another income stream there,
Right.
and have a little more control over that side of it. Then we did the same with construction business as well. We had someone in our world that was a great partner to help us build that, and we ended up partnering with them again and we have, I don't do a lot of active time in that business, but it's another income stream that helps us build that BRRR strategy up and have a little more control and just controlling that process. We found contractors we had some great ones, and then over time they either got really busy, which meant they got either really expensive, or they'd spend less time working with us, or have less time to spend working with us, even though we're doing at least one a month project of pretty big proportions. So we started building some things in-house, and that led to adding some new business and revenue streams there, which has been pretty cool. All to really help that BRRR strategy fine-tune it.
Well, it makes sense, right? Because you've got buy and hold, you've got tenants, you've got numerous doors because you're focusing on smaller or starting to get towards medium-sized multifamily properties. So chances are maybe at the beginning you're trying to outsource some of that property management, may or may not have worked that well. So you decided, what the heck, let's take that in-house. And then part of the process was, as you're fixing up and rehabbing these properties, you're having challenges keeping good contractors on board. So why not have your own contracting company? And then when you're a little bit slow with that, you can, with your own deals, they can go do somebody else's.
Yeah, we have the real estate team too. So I'm a realtor, and we have a real estate a team of realtors too. That does 2 things. Another income stream for us. It helps find a lot of properties too, because we do a lot of outbound lead generation type of activities. Mm-hmm. And through that, we were able to help service those clients better as well. Having the construction, the property management team really helps us kind of get our database controlled and keeping in touch with these people, ongoing, which a lot of our clients in the real estate team side of things are investors. So we, want to help them and give them more, solid companies to work with. And so, all around, it's been really good for us, and win-win, I think, for us and our clients.
Yeah, well, it's very, very entrepreneurial, and you've been working with your wife in these businesses from day one. Is that correct? Or is she more focused on one particular side of things?
She ends up now, she runs our property management team. So she runs that business full time. At least for now. I don't know how she likes that business, but she does. It's a tough business. That's a really tough one. A lot of complaints coming from both sides of it, right? You get the tenants obviously complaining, but you can only do so much, because ultimately you're just the middleman between the landlord and the tenants, right? But it's been good. She enjoys it. She's built a great team there, and that's really what it comes down to. Having great people around you, you can really make any business pretty fun. I think, as long as there's great people and you're doing something you believe in.
It's interesting. I was just interviewing another gentleman a month or 6 weeks ago. Property management again, same kind of idea. The idea of adding ancillary businesses to that base business. So you've kind of done it differently. You started out with the BRRR strategy, buying and renovating the houses, then added on stuff. He started with the property management company and then added stuff on. Interesting one that he said has worked really, really well for him is adding on a landscaping business. And that one actually surpassed his property management company revenues pretty quickly. So that became its own thing. But he started off with a set group of clients, because a captive group, as it were, because he already had all these properties to manage. So why not take care of the landscaping, the snow removal, all that kind of stuff? So
So that's
Very,
interesting
very
because we actually just launched that recently, and I didn't mention it, but if it outpaces the property management company, that's amazing. Hopefully ours does that same.
yeah.
We had a person in our. This is kind of how I like to do it. I don't like to be actively involved in all these
Yeah.
businesses
You don't have
because
enough time, man. Yeah.
So if we have a person in our world that's eager and comes to us and wants to lead it, then we'll use our business sense to help guide him or her, and also use our base of business we already have to help be the lead generation tool for that company, right? So that's where we're pretty much new with that. We are doing the snow removal this winter, which is really crazy expensive insurance. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So it's been a little bit of pain setting it up, but I think that'll be another value added for our people there. So that's something we're working on.
Now, you're also, tell me how the whole podcast thing fits into things for you, and how long you've been doing that, and how that's benefited you as well.
Yeah. So our podcast, I have a partner there, co-host Rob Brake, and we started that show, believe it or not, like almost coming up on 6 years.
Wow.
And so we've been doing it a long time. We kind of benefited from being, I think, first in on that space, at least in Canada. Mm-hmm. And we had been having these conversations with people, other investors, just Rob and I ourselves, because we were just kind of early on in the investment world. We were just kind of getting to know everything and going to all these great meetup clubs and learning, and then talking afterwards about what we're doing and what others are doing. And we just said, why don't we make this a show? We're having these conversations. We just talked for half an hour. Why don't we record some of this? And so we started doing that, and we started bringing on some experts and giving them a platform to share their story and their services. And then over time, that's really actually what got us really heavily more involved in this business was that, because we started, I got into the realtor world, and all of a sudden that podcast is a great source for finding investors to work with us. Same with all these businesses I'm talking about now. So it's been a great lead generation tool. It's been a great platform to help others give value and help them succeed. And, obviously by helping others get what they want, you're going to help what you get. You're going to get what you want eventually. So I think that's been our outlook from day one with that, is just provide value for the investor world. And we've been excited to be a part of that for 6 years now.
Yeah, that is amazing. I can't remember where I read it, but I think, there's so many podcasts now. I think the average podcast only lasts about 7 or 8 episodes and then fizzles out. So you guys have been going for 6 or 7 years. Keep on rocking it. That's absolutely phenomenal. Great podcast.
We looked at that at the beginning and said, well, there was a couple of people that had started shows and really fizzled out fast. And we said, look, if we're going to have a 2-year outlook on this, if it's doing anything in 2 years, we'll keep going, but we're going to at least give it 2 years. Like, we're not going to just give up after a couple of weeks, because that's with any business basically, right? If you don't give it at least a year to 2 years, there's probably you're not going to see much return anyways in that sort of a time, unless you really get lucky. So that's kind of how we've always looked at things with these other businesses as well, is have that longer term outlook. And eventually, if you keep going, things will, you'll hit that breaking point where you start to succeed with it. So that's been our look.
Persistence pays, right? That's like the old sayings goes. So Sandy, do you, in addition to all the hats that you're wearing, are you coaching people about real estate investing? Are you mentoring people? Are you offering training or anything like that? Or is it primarily through the podcast? What do you guys do?
You know what? We don't offer formal training right now. We do. I mean, I guess we're always coaching and training our people. We do bring on partnerships, and I guess that's a form of training in some form. Sometimes we don't do any formalized training. We have been thinking about that for a while. I have someone in our team right now who I know is really thinking about it, and we might end up launching something in the next little bit. But we don't offer anything formal yet. So that's something to look out for in the future, maybe. Right now, we do a lot of the podcast training for sure, or the podcast recordings and all that is one stream of value that we add to that, but it's all free. So I guess we do a lot of training and stuff. It's all free. So
right, exactly.
For now.
So Sandy, time flies when we're having fun. If people want to find out more about Sandy Mackay, what you're up to, what you're doing, or get a hold of you, what should they do?
So they can find me online, and I'm on most sites. But if you really want to get some value out of it quickly, go to mrnwealth.com. We have a free investors report up there that we're actually putting out a free quarterly investors report there about our region here. So that's kind of interesting for people. And to find out more about me specifically, obviously the podcast, breakthrough.reipodcast.ca, or you could find me by looking me up on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the main places.
We'll have the links in the show notes, so you can click on those and connect with Sandy. That sounds good. What does MRN stand for?
Mackay Realty Network. So that's our realtor team. That's what a lot of our people end up coming to us through. Is that we do a lot of events around the Hamilton and surrounding area. So if you go on there, you'll probably find a bunch of stuff on our events that are upcoming and free trainings, that sort of thing. Awesome.
So you got kind of like a real estate club type thing is what you're...
Yeah. We do a club. We have a few different variations of the type of nights that we do, but we do at least one a month. That's, bring up some speakers and things like that, and very low cost, sometimes free. We do some street tours, a whole bunch of stuff awesome. that they could find on that website, mrnwealth.com.
Awesome. Sandy, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much for sharing some time and some really good tips and ideas about finding those motivated sellers. I really appreciate that.
Thanks so much, Dave. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It's been a blast.
My pleasure. All right, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye. Well, thanks very much for checking out the Property Profits podcast. And if you like what we're doing here, please head on over to iTunes, subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. Be very, very much appreciated. And if you're looking to create a regular flow of inbound investor inquiries about your real estate deals, then I invite you to attend one of my upcoming live online demonstrations. And you can check that out at investorattractiondemo.com. Take care.